And welcome back to Affordable Optics and Rifle Reviews. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up your infrared on your scope. So this is the final product. This is what it should look like. You do have to keep in mind a few key considerations when setting this all up, because you're going to be setting it up off of your rifle. It's just going to be a lot easier to set up, and you won't necessarily be able to get these Allen screws on if the scope is already in your rifle. So take that scope off of your rifle, take it out of its scope rings, and we're going to start setting it up. So this is what the final product should look like. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is the scope. We're going to leave it to its lowest magnification. We're going to set the parallax down to its lowest amount. If you have a parallax-free scope, that's great. Next, you're going to wrap it in tape. So this one does come with some tape. You don't need to put very much. It's just essentially so that your screws from your the ocular mounting system doesn't scratch it all up, and it gives it something to grip onto. That's what you're going to want. So I just put 2 layers, and that was sufficient. You're going to want to make sure that it does fit the scope. So if your eyepiece is too big, it may actually not fit. So these will be the dimensions on the screen. So next step is we're going to be setting up one of these onto the tube. Now this isn't a 30mm tube. This is a 1-inch tube. So we're going to be putting this on the optic. Now normally you'd be used to setting these up for your rifle, but you're going to be putting this one on upside down. You're going to see just why in just a moment. Now while we're doing that, this system does take 18650 batteries. I recommend you get some pretty good quality ones, and then you make sure they're fully charged before even trying this out. You're going to need a total minimum of 3. And if you go look on eBay, I mean, they're fairly inexpensive. Okay, so I'm making sure it's upside down. You're going to want to note that this is how it's going to be going. I don't want to block my turret either, so I'm actually going to be putting this far more forward than I normally would, because I still have the scope mounts that I'm going to need to put on the scope to the rifle. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to probably put it just right about here. Now this doesn't need to be extremely tight. This isn't holding your scope to the rifle. It's just holding this camera system to the scope. Make sure this additionally is plugged in, or else, well, I mean, you won't have any video. Okay. Then we're just going to loosen this up. Slip this in. We're going to tighten that up later with a screwdriver. All right, now this part is assembled. Now it's important to know your eye relief, because that's going to give you a ballpark idea of where exactly to mount this on your objective. Okay, so I am going to need to loosen these up a little bit, just so I can slip it on. Now there is a direction on how to put this on, and essentially you want the on-off to this camera. This essentially is a camera. You're going to want this facing downwards, or else, I mean, when the final result, the picture is going to be moving in the wrong directions. So, all right, so this is sort of where we want it. Now my battery is fully charged. We don't have to worry about the infrared just yet. This in itself is just a simple camera. So we're going to turn it on and see if we are in the right place. My on switch is, the on switch is right here. Okay. Now the camera is on, and this should also be projecting whatever we see. All right, now if you want to know how to put the batteries in, you push this in with your nail, and your batteries are right there. All right. That should be showing you fairly clearly. That's my wooden wall. And so in this case, I'm going to snug these down a little bit at a time. Actually, I'm going to see if I can back it up a little bit, because I do want a bit bigger field of view. Okay. Okay, now I'm snugging it up, and you guys notice the reticle is moving a bit to the left. I'm going to do these all a little bit at the same time. All right, now the camera system is tight, So that's pretty good. Normally, I mean, this is the second time I install it, so I mean, maybe the camera's already set. So additionally, diopter adjustment on the scope, you should be setting that completely all the way in, not all the way out. So right now we have a camera that works. This is all good. The next step, all you have to do is set up the infrared. So right now this is good to go. Okay. So for the infrared, all you do, take this, loosen it up a bit, mount it in there. And you're going to slip the flashlight in here. Now, if you're not sure how to put the battery in, it just untwists like this. And it takes a 18650 battery, just like in the little screen here. Make sure you fully charge these if you want this to project out the beam that it should, or else you might not see as far as you would want to. Come on. And I gotta loosen it up. There we go. Now I'm going to mount it fairly forward on the scope, just because I know I still have to put my scope rings on. And it's as simple as that. And this one, you turn it on just by pressing the button. Now, as you should be able to tell, it's a little bit red. Now, you might think that, oh, this beam might be kind of dead, but no, this is actually exactly what it looks like when it's fully functional. I've tested it out outside at night, and I mean, it works pretty good. All right, so let's turn on the monitor. That's my mailbox. Now, if we set the parallax out further, we'll be able to make out that a bit better out in the forest. You should just be able to tell those are trees back there. So this is what the product looks like when it's all done. I mean, it works pretty well. I tried this outside and it was pretty amazing. It was pitch black, and I mean, I could make things out very clearly with this infrared system. Anyway, after that, all you do is you mount this on your rifle as you normally would any scope, you level it, and away you go. If you're looking for any questions on troubleshooting, make sure all your cables are plugged in. For example, this one, the one behind the battery pack behind the screen. Make sure your batteries are fully charged. Buy a couple spare. I'd recommend getting at least 6 batteries with this unit. You know, you'd have 1 spare for each. Additionally, for troubleshooting, if the image really isn't getting clear, I mean, make sure you set your magnification to the lowest. That's what I did. Your parallax adjustment, if you have one, to the lowest, and find out what your eye relief is on the optic itself. Back the camera so it's pretty much at that distance. I mean, don't snug these up just yet, and move it back and forth with the camera on, and you're going to see pretty much where you need to be. After that, you can make fine adjustments with the little camera on the inside, and you should be doing pretty good. You shouldn't have any other issues. Yeah, so make sure your batteries are all set up. And I mean, this on the little screen here, there's some mode and stuff. I didn't have to touch that. It just worked right out the box. So if you have any questions, any concerns, leave it in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. And thanks for watching Affordable Optics and Rifle Review.